diversity is the key to wellness. So when I say diversity, I'm talking about gut microbiome diversity. Diversity means the breadth and repertoire of bacteria that are represented in the gut. So the opposite of diversity would be a gut that's been exposed to multiple rounds of antibiotics. Diversity diminishes. And in people with diminished diversity, we see more gut health issues. We see more likelihood of inflammatory bowel disease, more likelihood of chronic inflammatory diseases, autoimmune disease. So in many ways, diversity is the holy grail. It's what we all should be seeking to either create or maintain over a lifetime. Now, we're still learning how we can create that diversity. And I think there's a lot that we can learn from the hunter-gatherers because they have an incredibly diverse gut microbiome. Now, I'm not saying let's all go out and become hunter-gatherers, but one of the lessons that I learned from them is that part of the way diversity is created is from being out in nature, from not being overly clean, by not over sanitizing things, not over washing your hands. They don't wash their hands. They put their hands in dirt and stuff. And I actually went hunting and gathering with them. And one of the days we found a root vegetables, dug them out of the ground, cut them up. We ate them right there. They were kind of like, sort of like jicama type of, like very watery, crunchy, like you didn't really have to cook it to eat it. But they're getting exposed to all sorts of microbes by doing that. And that's one of the ways to increase microbial diversity. The other way was pointed out by a study that was done at Stanford University, where they took a group of about 30-some people. They split them into two groups of 18. One group was put on a high fiber diet, and the other group was put on a high fermented food diet. So fermented foods are foods that are cultured, like kefir, kimchi, yogurt, kombucha, things like that. And so they looked at two really important things. Actually, they looked at three different things. So one, they looked at microbial diversity. So what happened before and at the end of the intervention. The whole study was about 17 weeks long. There was a 4-week ramp up, 10 weeks of being on the maintenance diet. So for the fiber group, their goal was to get to about 40 grams of fiber per day. Now, most people are eating less than 20 grams per day, so less than half of that. And most Americans are eating 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day, so not that much. On the fermented food side, the goal was to get them to 4 to 6 servings of fermented foods in some way or form. It could be something that they were drinking, like a vegetable brine drink, but 4 to 6 servings, which is quite a lot.
No fiber on the side, or that is fiber?
They weren't increasing they weren't focusing on fiber. So to make it, clean study, one group increase fiber, but not fermented foods. This group don't increase fiber, but you are getting some fiber from these foods, but increase fermented foods. Typical person that was enrolled in the study was having about 0.4 serving of fermented foods per day. So they then looked at what happened to microbial diversity, and they also decided, let's look at inflammatory markers, and let's look at immune activation. And what they found was that, and actually almost surprisingly to me, because I thought for certain, like we hear, like, well, fiber is prebiotic for our gut microbiome. It's like fish food for our gut bacteria. So that's what we need. That's probably going to have the best results, like increasing fiber. Like that's the key. Well, it wasn't. It was the high fermented foods group that had the greatest drop in inflammatory markers. So they looked at 19 different inflammatory markers, including cellular immune activation of macrophages and all sorts of, like C-reactive protein, things like that. And their microbial diversity increased. And so the fermented foods group increased their microbial diversity. They've dropped 19 inflammatory markers. Now, what did the fiber-rich group do? Fiber-rich group modulated the immune response. And it was interesting because they decided, well, is this the same across all participants in the high fiber diet. So they decided, well, let's split them into 3 groups. Let's look at their baseline microbial diversity before they started the study. And they found that they could actually split them into high, moderate, and low. Mm-hmm. They found that the group with the highest microbial diversity when they started the study and went on a high fiber diet actually had the best immune modulation, actually calmed down the immune system. So fiber does play a role. From this study, we can conclude that fiber plays some sort of role in modulating the way our immune system is functioning, because the one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that 80% of our immune system is all along the gut lining. So it is command central for our immune system. If you want to quiet your immune system is overactivated because you have autoimmune disease, you need to focus on your gut, because that is command central for the immune system. But the fermented foods group showed us that that's how we increase microbial diversity. Now, I would add to that getting out in nature.
Yep.
If you can have your own garden, like I have a garden here in New York, and I've got my own vegetables growing on organic soil, so I know where it came from. If there's a little bit of dirt on my vegetable, I'll wash it a little bit, but I'm not going to take everything off, because I know that dirt is also helping to modify and improve my microbial diversity.